Hey babe, I'm gonna do this live. I wanted to get Marvin, but it's a poop.
How are you doing?
Oh, I am actually outside taking this call, taping this show. Are you coming on video?
I am not today.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay. We can take it as an audio. No
Yeah,
problem.
excellent. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining Love Insight, the site for science-based insight to help you find love. I'm your host, Brandon Rader, psychological researcher, matchmaker, and dating coach. And this is our incomparable host, Arlene Washburn.
Nice to be with you all. Arlene Washburn here, science-based dating and relationship coach. And I'm really excited about this topic today. I know we're going to have a very short segment, and I'm actually outside in my front yard. So I wanted to start with my love insight, Brandon, if you don't mind. I actually had a show that I did today on the Get Real, Get Love show on social media. And one of the things I was talking about, which kind of leads into this topic a little bit, is when to talk about your if you have chronic illness, and that increases as we get older, and almost 100% of the people have chronic illness. And a lot of people have shame around this and feel that, and I'm including mental health issues and so forth, but they feel that they're not worthy of love if they have a situation where they might have, any mental health issues or any kind of issues. So I'm a proponent of, like, everyone deserves to love and be loved, and it doesn't matter if you have a chronic illness. And guess what? Almost 100% of the people eventually have one. So don't let that be a barrier. And that is my love insight for this week. What are yours?
That's excellent. So, mine pertains to matchmaking versus dating coaching. I had a person ask me this week, which do I prefer? And I had to after reflecting on this question, I decided I really enjoy dating coaching over matchmaking. And what came to mind is that adage of, if you give someone a fish, they can eat for a day. If you teach someone to fish, they can eat for a lifetime. And same thing goes for matchmaking and dating coaching. If you give someone a match, they'll have a date for the night. If you teach someone how to date, they can turn that match into a relationship that will last a lifetime, or find more matches if they need to.
I love that. And I think you and I are very like minded, and I feel the exact same way. And because I think what's challenging for us as matchmakers and dating coaches, and by the way, not every matchmaker is a dating coach. So when people work with us, they're very fortunate in that regard that we have both skills. But I think what happens is that people who are struggling because they actually need coaching believe that a matchmaker is just like a magic bullet, and that they're just going to find you that person and you're going to be all done and move on. And that's just not the way it works, right? So thank you for that one. That's a great share.
Yeah, and I think it ties really nicely into our concept of limiting beliefs. A
Yeah.
lot of people have limiting beliefs that are preventing them from finding their ideal partner and shaping their ideal relationship. And so, what I tell a lot of my clients is, it doesn't matter if I was to introduce you to your ideal partner tomorrow. If there is something that has been preventing you from being able to form your ideal relationship, it's still going to be present. So we need to identify that and address that limiting belief before you meet the person that you want to fall in love with, because you don't want to screw it up, to be frank.
Absolutely. And let's just start with, how do you know you have a limiting belief, right? And I always say that if there's any area of your life that is not where you want it to be, particularly your relationship, right? Because that's where we focus, then you need to look at what you believe. Because when we talk about limiting beliefs, is that there's a limit to what you can achieve, and you've reached that limit based on the belief that you currently have. And when you are able to expand beyond that and actually change your belief system, which, by the way, is so doable. I think a lot of people think that their beliefs are, etched in stone, but that's not the case. Right now, if you can change that, then you can progress past that and no longer have that limit. And every time you reach a limit, you can go past that. And whether it's learning on your own or getting support from people like us who can help people learn about the strategies and all of that. So I just want to clarify that. So if you're listening to this right now and you are wondering, oh my gosh, do I have a limiting belief? Well, are you getting results that you want? No, then probably you need to check what you believe, because that's as far as it can go.
Yeah, I think one of the top limiting beliefs that I encounter in the dating industry is that there are just no more quality singles out there. That is I think that is probably a limiting belief that I experience. And I always like to tell people, I'm like, we live in a big world. There's billions of people. Are you trying to tell me that out of these billions of people on this planet that there's no more quality singles? And then the response is typically, well, I'm not meeting quality singles. There's no quality singles in my area. And I'm like, ooh, the key there is that you are not meeting quality singles. It doesn't mean that they're not present. That's the limiting belief, that they are not present, that they are not in my area. That is the limiting belief. But what they need to focus on is that I am not meeting them, and then ask themselves why. Once you ask yourself the why, you can really start to break down that limiting belief and understand how to overcome it.
Oh my God, that's so good. If I had a nickel for every person that has ever said to me that there aren't any good people in the area, that they have to move out of their city because there aren't any people in New York, there aren't any people in Austin or all these places. It's like, are you kidding me? Absolutely. And why is it that we don't just hear this from one type of person, right? Like, it's not just the women, it's not just the men, it's all, right? So obviously, if these are all good people and they're not connecting, that means that they're believing something that is not accurate. There's a process that they're following, or behavior, or the way they communicate, right? Because what we say and what we do is connected to what we think, that is not working for them. And so we have to make those choices to cut the BS, which is what I affectionately call your belief system, and get to the real meat and potato that's actually going to get you some results.
Absolutely. I think one of pertaining to this specific limiting belief is that they believe they can only meet someone in a specific location or in a specific type of setting. We've talked about this in past shows about how anytime you exit your home and are entering a public area, there is an opportunity for you to meet someone.
Yeah.
If you are feeling like the dog park that you're going to, or the coffee shop that you're going to, or the grocery store that you're going to doesn't have the type of people that you would want to date, then switch it up. Go to a different grocery store, go to a different dog park, go to a different gym or coffee shop, right? Sometimes it might be a little bit inconvenient, a little bit out of the way, but hey, that's how you override that limiting belief. It's not that there are not good people out there. It's that maybe you're not looking in the right places, and that's why you're not finding them. That's just one example how you can overcome that type of limiting belief. Arlene, what's another common limiting belief that you hear in the dating industry?
Excuse me. I hear a lot of people say that I don't think it's meant to be for me. And they basically have given up. And what happens with when you give up is that if you mentally check out and give up, everything you do is going to support that, right? So you no longer start taking care of yourself. You're no longer even making an attempt to connect with people. You just have completely checked out. And if you're not in it, then, people who lose are the ones who don't even try. So there's zero effort into, trying to have some sort of strategy for connection and relationships and actually meeting someone, and also to taking care of themselves, right? Because part of the giving up is a lack of self-love and self-care, right? That if you don't love yourself enough to where you feel worthy of being loved, and that others need to treat you in a certain way and things like that, you sort of give up, right? And so that you just sort of create this scenario that you're believing. So I do believe that there's a lid to every pot, and it's never too late. I don't care how old you are, how young you are. I mean, ideally you want to be 28 plus to seek a long-term relationship, in my opinion, and a lot of the experts be that I why I think I might have lost you. Are you there?
Oh, yes, yes. You were frozen there for a minute. I agree. I didn't hear the last part of what you had said, but I completely agree. I think that giving up, saying it's just not for me, it's not going to work, is definitely a limiting belief. And that's a really vicious cycle, because the reason why they feel like it's not for them, they feel like giving up, is because what they've been doing hasn't worked. And so if they continue to do that and then continue to feel like they're giving up, then it creates this cycle of giving up and doing the same thing over and over, hoping for a different result. So they really need to break outside of that cycle and try something new to be able to produce different results. And that requires the belief that love is for me, that there is someone out there for me. I just need to try something different. I think
Brandon. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying something? Go
You know,
ahead.
I was just going to go into one of the other most common limiting beliefs that I encounter in the dating world. And that is that you should only flirt with someone that you are attracted to on a date.
Hmm.
And I am a firm believer that every date is an opportunity for you to hone your dating skills, including flirting.
Yeah.
Now, I understand some people have reservations because they don't want to lead people on. I get that. But if you look at flirting in and of itself, it's just a behavior, right? It's a behavior to express like and comfortability with someone. And that's just a positive interaction overall. So when you're flirting with someone, you're simply creating an environment of like and comfortability. And we all could use that, right? Just because you tell someone they look really nice tonight doesn't mean that they're going to think, oh, this person wants to marry me tomorrow. They're going to buy an engagement ring tonight. No, it simply means, okay, they think I look nice. That's very nice, right? Gives them a confidence boost, and it gives you the ability to practice that skill of giving verbal affirmations and compliments. So I think that limiting belief is there when people only give themselves the opportunity to practice their skills when they're sitting across the table from someone that they're attracted to, which usually doesn't work out very well, because when we are attracted to someone, we typically get more nervous. We talk faster, we might stumble over our words a little bit, or some people lose all verbal skills and stop talking completely. We question, did we say something weird? Did I move weird? I hope I didn't offend them. We start questioning ourselves more when we're attracted to someone and we want to impress them. And all of this can put out the wrong impression, and usually, not always, but usually could repel someone. So when you practice those skills on every single person that you're on a date with, it becomes habitual, it becomes natural, you become a master of flirting. So when you are sitting across the table from someone you find attractive, you will be able to execute it flawlessly.
I love that. And it increases your charisma, because flirting is not, sexual innuendos and things like that. That's not necessarily what flirting is all about. It's really about connecting with people, and being interested in someone, and being generous with your compliments and things like that. But I love that share, but I want to say, I believe the most insidious belief system that has been spread and for years and years, and it has indoctrinated women in particular, and that is the idea that love happens when you least expect it. That you should just sit and wait for something to happen. You don't have to do anything, because if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. And you should just sit and pray or do something else and just wait for love to come to you and not put any effort into it. And I just think that is just so terrible for our society, because then people wake up, when they're in their late 30s, 40s, mid 40s, wondering, like, is this ever going to happen for me? Oh my God, I'm in a panic. I'm freaking out. A lot of the clients that I get to work with, are women whose biological clocks are ticking, or that they've spent years focused on their, their careers or their education, and that they don't believe that they can simultaneously do all these things that they want to accomplish in their lives and have a relationship, right? And so they don't do anything, and then all of a sudden they wake up in a panic. And I just wish people, parents in particular, or I think this happens a lot in religious groups and things like that, to stop telling people that love just happens when you least expect it, because there really isn't much in life that happens when you least expect it. You need to put energy and effort towards anything you want out of life, and implement strategies that work, and processes and tips and all the stuff that we share that help people be better at dating, be better at relationships, and be better at connecting. So please get that idea out of your head. And, I also blame Disney for that. I love Disney, but Disney, you need to tell people there should be a warning. By the way, this, like they do with the cigarettes, right? None of this is true. This is just a little story to entertain you, but this is not how real life works. So that I get all excited about that one. And I want to
agree.
go ahead, Brandon. I'm muting myself because I have stuff going on outside here. Go ahead.
I tell all of my clients that they need to love strategically. And when I say love strategically, it means becoming an architect of your own love life. I tell people to stop waiting around for the universe to present them with a meet cute and start writing your own love story. It's super easy to start dating strategically. You map out a plan, you come up with an idea of a general timeline of when you would like to meet someone, ideally the one, as people like to phrase it, and break that down into measurable goals. If you say, I want to be in a relationship within a year, well, then you need to break down how many first dates can I go on per week, realistically, right? Because a lot of people, what they do is they're all in for like 3 months, hitting the dating apps hard, hitting the single scenes really hard, going on date after date after date. They get burnt out, they get chronic fatigue, and they end up not hitting their results, and then they end up retracting. I call this yo-yo dating. It's almost like the idea of yo-yo dieting, right? Where you're all in for like 3 months and then you're all out for a couple months, all in, all out, all in, all out. And when you do this, it's not productive, and it doesn't help you hit those results, and it's not the healthy way to approach it, right? So you want it all, it's all about sustainability and integrating it into your life in a healthy way. And you can do that by really breaking it down into those measurable goals, being realistic about it. I can reach out to X amount of people online per day. I'm going to do it at 8 a.m. every day. When I have my coffee, I'll reach out to 9 people online. I'm going to allocate Friday nights for my date nights. I'm going to try to go on at least one first date per week. I'm going to smile at least 3 people I find attractive when I'm out and about, whether that be at the gym, coffee shop, or grocery store. If you see someone that you like at a place you frequent, like a gym or a coffee shop, I'm going to approach that person next Thursday and just talk to them. I'm going to just start the conversation. Next week, if it goes well, I'm going to take it to the next level and maybe ask them if they would like to grab a coffee with me, or maybe we can meet for a workout. Give yourself measurable action items to achieve your goal. It's all about dating strategically, and you'll get there a lot faster than just hoping the universe is going to slap you upside the head with a meet cute.
Oh my God, I love that. And I hope that anyone who's listening, whether they're listening live or on the replay, that they're taking notes, because you just gave a masterclass on this type of information. And, I also think that it's important to get rid of this mindset that you're this independent person and you don't need, I have to say, and I don't always want to direct this towards women, but it is very common for women to talk about how independent they are and how they intimidate men. First of all, women don't intimidate men. I don't believe that at all. I believe that women can be off-putting in their out because he feels he needs to get his shit together before he can approach this person. But this idea that they're so, oh my God, they're just so amazing that they're intimidating. Can you hear me? Because the plane's going over my head.
I can still hear you.
So I would like for people to just be who they are and know that whether you're an independent person and have a life, which is great, by the way, it's good to have your own interests even while you're in a relationship, that there is such a thing as interdependency, and that is normal, and that is part of what makes a relationship work, is knowing that you are dependent, not codependent, but that you are interdependent, and that you can rely on one another when someone gets sick, that person's there for you. That's part of what creates that trust and that connection, that you have a partner that you know is there for the good times and the bad times. And that is an interdependency that exists in healthy relationships. And that is what it's supposed to be. So what happens is when people are super independent and feel that they don't need anyone or that they can't accept anything, a lot of times it comes from the belief that they're not worthy. If you can't accept, then it's usually because you don't feel worthy of receiving. And so you need to check yourself and figure out where does that come from, right? So in my case, I grew up with a single parent, and my dad left when I was a kid. So I grew up very independent, and my mom encouraged it, because a lot of parents do this to their female daughters. They tell them, you don't need a man, you could do this you need to be self-sufficient, you need to have your own money, your own thing, and then you grow up with this mindset where instead of feeling really deep down independent, you feel unworthy of being able to depend on someone. So you can't receive, and you need to get over that, because that is an important part of a healthy relationship. And I'm very thankful that I was able to release that. I learned to receive, and now I have a beautiful relationship with my husband of many years. But I understand that we both rely on one another, and that is normal. So I wanted to add that one.
Yeah, I think that's a great limiting belief. I think something that piggybacks off of that is that people believe they have to be in a certain place in their lives to be worthy of love or to enter into a relationship. And I think to a certain degree, this is true. There are certain things that people need to learn on their own and grow on their own to prepare themselves to be in a healthy relationship. But you don't need to strive for perfection. I think that's where the limiting belief happens. And I always tell my clients, if you're looking for perfect, you're going to be perfectly disappointed. And what we should be looking for is someone who is self-aware, aware of their faults and their shortcomings, both as an individual and in relationships. Because let's face it, we're all hot messes. There's something that we could all be working on. We're all constantly hopefully trying to improve and grow our circumstances. And so it's okay to be in a relationship and working on yourself and working on the relationship at the same time. When you're in a relationship that has healthy interdependence, as Arlene was just talking about, you have the ability to grow as an individual and as a couple, because you support each other in the right ways and provide each other what one another needs to grow as an individual. But then you also both are still committed to focusing on and growing the relationship.
I love that. I want to add one more, and I'm not sure how your timing is right now, but I want to say this. Most of the people who are looking for perfection, either trying to be perfect or looking for someone who's perfect, these are people who have to really review where does this idea that there is such a thing as perfection, where does that come from? And a lot of it comes from striving to be the best at things because maybe they were told that they weren't smart enough. If you look at a lot of successful people, they come from situations where they've been told that they're dumb, or maybe they had a learning disability and they overcame it and became, very successful. The thing is to reach a point where you understand that, yes, you are capable of being better, and we're all a work in progress until we die, but we are worthy of love and a healthy relationship, irrespective of whether or not we have our imperfections. The key is to find someone who's willing to tolerate the things that you may never change, and for you to find someone who has qualities that you seek, and also things that you can tolerate forever. There are certain things about me that I may not change as much as I try. Not everybody succeeds in improving, to to that level, because we're not perfect human beings. We're just human beings, right? And my husband has his qualities, that certain things that I don't particularly like, but I can tolerate because I love him, because I see all these other qualities in him. So understanding that there is no such thing as perfection, and that you are worthy of love regardless of whether you have imperfections or not, because we're just human beings, and to roll with that and accept that, because that is the reality of life, and continue to work on yourself, continue to improve, especially if you're a sexual like me, where I'm always learning, always reading, and trying to just grow, and doing all my self-help stuff and implementing everything that I talk to people about. I'm all for that, but I'm not a perfectionist by any means. So I love that you brought.
Yes, that is a great point, and this is a great point to end our show for today. So our next show next week is all about how to fight fair. And when you are in a relationship and you are trying to navigate these incongruencies between what you thought you should be with and who you're with, your imperfections and your partner's imperfections, and you're trying to wrap your head around this idea of, is this something I can accept for the rest of my life? Should I ask them to change it? If they ask me to change something, should I consider it? How do we compromise? How do we collaborate to build the best relationship possible? And it's all about learning how to fight fair so that you can build a healthy relationship around healthy conflict, which is what a lot of people forget, is that healthy relationships are about healthy conflict, not relationships that are completely devoid of conflict, because let's face it, that's unrealistic. So thank you, Love Insiders, for joining Arlene and I today as we discuss limiting beliefs. If you have any questions, please feel free to connect with me on Instagram at Brandon Rader Official.
Wonderful. And thank you so much, Brandon. And thank you, Love Insiders, for joining us today, Cole and Stefan. Please reach out to me on Instagram